Okay.
Yeah, we're frozen.
Why are you frozen?
Becca's not, but we are.
Let me... Why are you frozen? Okay.
Nobody say anything. Make her think everything crashed.
But Asakaba? Why is it frozen? Why is it only picking up my cat? I'm so confused. Hold on. I've got to rejoin the call. Got to fucking hang up. Rejoin.
Just everything died.
Everything died.
That's it. Cool, gone.
Everything's died
Let's
except
fix
for Frey. Frey's just there in grey.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's all
Fixed
gone to
it.
doo-doo caca. This is the content you came for.
Here we are.
Well, it is the content they came for, but it's the content they're
Part of
getting.
it is.
Oh, God.
That's why people need to be on the ball for when you go online so they can see the beginning shenanigans.
Yep. Because this is where it's
Oh.
at, baby.
Speaking of beginning, should we?
Oh,
no, this is kind of funny.
we could just...
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
We could do a
this,
podcast version.
This could just be what we do. Oh man, okay. Get the fuck out of here.
Hello, chat. Hello, it. Next time.
Previously on.
Go on, take it away.
Oh, is it my turn, is it?
Ah.
I guess so. I haven't done it for a little while.
Previously on.
So, we are currently in the Fort of Falling Embers. We have arrived at a very tumultuous time for the fort. It's still in the process of being finished, being built, but also they've had a couple of instances with some bandits that have been taking advantage of people in the area. And so what we learned was that our captain friend, what's the captain's?
Captain
Salt. That's right.
Salt.
We only know them by Salt. Captain assaulted a bunch of people in a fight and basically is feeling very insecure in their role because of how a combat went previously and is now...
Badly.
Yeah, it went bad. It was really bad. So they are leaving the fort on the back of Dragonfly. Dragonfly? Yeah, like giant dragonfly creatures.
They're commonly known as sun darters, but their names are Vermirathrin, but they're dragonfly-like creatures, but they've got the big transparent butterfly-like wings, but as the sun shines through them, it creates like scintillating light underneath. So it's almost like a disco rave party wherever they fly.
So cool.
Yep.
But yeah, the Vermithrin are coming to pick up the captain. So we've learnt about the captain going basically to the city. The captain is leaving. Meanwhile, we've been chatting to each other about what our next move is. Because obviously the fort, is sort of like nearing completion. They've defeated the bandits. So everything should be a little bit chiller now. So they don't exactly need us. So we're like umming and ahhing about what our next move is. And basically, last session, went and got breakfast and talked about it. that was what we did. And we thought about what our potential next moves are. And we believe that the bandits have a connection to a slavery ring that we have been hearing about for a long period of time. And we think it's time to go sort it out. I'm just like, how long ago? It wasn't even that long ago, and my brain feels like it was months ago that we played. I've done so much thinking
What's going on?
for marking, yeah.
There's been a lot going on.
But we spoke to our friends that we had made who are like also friends with an adventuring party, but technically aren't part of the adventuring party, right? Like Jean and Vian are not part of the other group.
Jean and Vian are members of the guild Kirith Nan,
Yes.
and the other group who don't really have a proper name at the moment, but who everybody except them seems to agree they should just be called the Breakers.
The Breakers. They should just be the Breakers.
Yeah. Much like yourselves are kind of being associated with. So they're not actually a part of Kirith Nan either, but they're sort of doing things for
They're doing
Kirith
things
Nan.
alongside.
Yeah.
But basically, we spoke to Jean and Vian and asked them what they were going to do. And we still have Suruwatha, who we need to figure out if we're going to help them do their next phase, or if they're going to go on their own now, or can we get someone to go with them, because they're wanting to go to the big city. And Jean? Vian is going to go look at where the bandit ambush happened for clues. And Jean is going to stay at the fort because Jean feels obligated to, since the prison was kind of their part of the build and a whole bunch of people managed to already break out of that. So Jean's going to stick around. And Jean has stuff about my runes. But we have the humming of dragonfly wings. The captain's ride is here. That's basically where we left off.
Yep.
I'm like, there was so much talking last time. It's hard to actually explain what we did because it was talking.
There was a lot. Yeah, it was just a talking episode. Yeah. And you know, that happens.
Yeah.
But part of what I think had been decided was initially the group we'll just call the Breakers for now. We're going to go investigate the ambush site. But now there's kind of this feeling like, well, you know, they could quite happily carry on with Suruwatha and be more useful in that regard. Because, you know, subtlety isn't really their strong suit. Whilst Vian, who has a better idea of what was in the shipment, will go take a look and see if she can track that down. So Jean was going to be staying at the fort pretty much one way or another. That's where she's been since this place started construction, and she will be here probably after it's finished. This is just kind of her temporarily permanent posting until she gets another thing to do. But that was kind of about where that was.
And Jean wants to talk to Nofret.
Yes. Then there was sort of, while she was tinkering away at the device, there was sort of the comment about runes, and she stood up and actually very deliberately drew a rune in the air. And it was at that point where those casters in the group probably put the parallel together between drawing a rune and the gestures required for spellcasting were somewhat similar. But that's a conversation that will possibly happen today. But yes, that's when the Vermirathrin arrived with the beacon, who is one of the highest
Religious
authorities.
guys.
Yep, he's one of the highest authorities in the Temple of the Sun. The followers of the Keeper of Summer, to which most of the Summer Realms is beholden, shall we say. There's very much a bit of a fervent worship for that individual here, because previous history states that the Keeper of Summer drove the shadowy wings of darkness out of the skies and bestowed upon them the permanent blessings of summer. So the land is fertile, it is green, and it is growing, and it is all due to his blessings. So it's named after him, the worship is of him. So that's just kind of, the beacon is the highest, one of the highest members of that church. And he's come to take the captain away. So, yes, as these sun darters, the Vermirathrin, arrive over the fort, they circle around the massive orange crystal that rises up out of the ground like a flame. And you can sort of see that scintillating light that just kind of reflects not only through their wings, but then off the crystal itself, creating just this array of kaleidoscopic colors all throughout the courtyard as they kind of loop around and spiral and start their descent in towards the courtyard. Immediately, the soldiers down there who had been going or had resumed doing some of their drills, their training, some of the people who have been working on the walls and the buildings on the inside of the fort, all begin to make room. And the two Sundarters do come to a landing, and you can sort of see that on the back of one of them, there is this relatively robust, humanoid-looking figure who has on these almost bright orange robes, and dangling down his back seems to be this almost silvery cape. And as the Vermirathrin touched down, he sort of immediately puts one hand down and actually just one-handed pushes himself into the air and just kind of floats there before drifting off to the side with his arms out, and then slowly and gracefully comes down and touches feet first onto the ground. Definitely somebody who is making an entrance and is used to being someone who makes an entrance. Jean, dusting her hands off, immediately starts heading towards the stairs down into the courtyard, as many of the soldiers and whatnot begin sort of forming up in almost parade-style fashion in the courtyard to greet this high-ranking member of the faith. Vian, however, just continues to sort of lean back against the battlement, and as Jean sort of looks back, she just shakes her head. She's not going to be down there. She's not really a member of what's going on here, so she's just going to stay here and be away from it because she doesn't give a shit. But Jean does head down. It is up to you guys what you want to do.
I want to go see.
Oh, okay.
You guys want to come?
I would.
Are you...
Yeah, we can
You're-
go.
I can't remember. Are you Sekid or Hedi at this point?
Heshi.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Alright, cool. So we'll just say Freya at least comes along in tow, for now. And you make your way across the battlement and down the stairs into the courtyard, where, in fairly short order, a large number of the garrison, both the rangers and the knights, have gathered up into, like this military display. And you can sort of see this robed figure who head is completely clean shaven, is just striding back and forth, almost like he is a military commander with his arms clasped behind his back, sort of surveying the ranks as they assemble before him. And you do see that Altan is just mildly in front of everybody else. He's got his silver oaken bow slung over his shoulder and is standing rather uncomfortably at attention. Like he is making his discomfort and distaste for this situation pretty apparent just with his body language. Many of the construction workers and other people who were not part of the military here have all kind of either scattered out to the walls or even just left the inside of the fort altogether, not really tending to give too much of a care about it. There are several who have brought out little sun pendants, stylized icons, who have all sort of gathered to the side in their own little grouping, who are obviously also fervent worshippers of the Keeper of Summer, who, hey, look, here's one of the members of the church. They're not, they're not prostrating themselves or anything else, but they're definitely there to witness this person who obviously doesn't really come this way very often. There is currently no sign of the captain, but oddly enough, standing near Altan, you do see the young boy, Ty, who seems to be in almost kind of like a miniature version of what Altan is wearing. It's almost like a ranger-like outfit, but it's got these accents of blue with a white sash coming across, which is the same sort of color that the Royal Knights wear. He's very much been cleaned up, and he has an identical silver oak bow across his shoulders. It looks a little too large for a person of his frame, but he just has this almost beaming grin on his face and is trying very, very hard not to bounce up and down on his heels in excitement, like he's been told, behave, and he's trying very, very hard to emulate the people around him. Jean wanders around. Yep.
Can I just mutter under my breath and cast Druidcraft?
Yeah.
And just do a faint stink of a skunk wherever the guy walks. Like it's just coming from behind him.
You can. What is the range on Druidcraft?
Chaos Club. Oh no.
30 feet.
30 feet. All right. So
Because I would have pushed to get near the front because I'm small.
You'd have to get a little closer, but I mean, Jean herself is walking around the side of it like she's somebody that's important and needs to be at the front. So she's kind of wandering through. So should you choose to follow her, there will be a gap for you guys to follow through. But that's up to you as to whether you guys want to go near the front.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Panda wants a front row seat.
Yeah.
So Nofret standing at the back.
You stand all the way at the back. All
with
right.
Frey, we're just like, it's not our religious scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the follower of the Keeper of Winch is just like.
Yeah, I'm just like, it's okay, Frey. It's fine.
All right. So Hetty and Vander are making their way to the front. So what are
And
the,
they would
what
have
are
turned
the...
into a cat at some point.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah. He's-
Probably when you were coming down the stairs might have been the most hidden moment, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's just going to be sitting at Jean's feet.
Ah, okay. All right. She hasn't seen you transform, has she?
Nope.
No. Okay. Cool. She was too focused on what was ahead of her, so yeah, no, she wouldn't have noticed that. All right. So yeah, you would have to get a bit closer to cast Druidcraft. What are the casting requirements for Druidcraft?
Verbal and semantic.
Okay, cool. Alright, he's not looking for what this is. That's fine. But you do as you come close to the front, you do get within 30 feet. This courtyard is fairly open and expansive. Like I may have described it as being it's actually quite a large area. And so it isn't until you're at the front and he's sort of walking halfway back from the other side, or halfway towards the other side, that he'd be within range of you casting this. So are you casting it on him?
Yep.
So he qualifies as a target for the Druidcraft spell? That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't think he has to be a target, so I think I can just make it follow him.
Okay, all right, that's all right. So you undergo your casting as the beacon is doing his best version of a military stride, and at some point as he sort of wanders back, you definitely pick up the whiff of something a little foul and untoward in the air.
My mouse has disappeared from my screen. I'm just hold on.
That's okay.
I'm trying.
You do see that he looks rather unperturbed by the smell, and many of the rangers that are standing in the front rank have this sort of look where, as the man walks past, they have a completely forced stoic look, and then as soon as he's past and out of sight, they're like, they are trying very, very hard not to whisper amongst themselves about how rank this man is. However, given that he's probably been in the air and flying for 2 days, maybe that's not unexpected. Uh, so, Vander, you're just going to be sitting at the feet of Jean.
Mhm.
All right. And sorry, Nofret, you were doing what?
Uh,
Yes.
I am leaning up against like the stairwell. You know, like leaning against the rocks there. Sort of like probably under where Vian was. But
Okay.
just with Frey. And I've probably let Frey stand on the staircase, like sort of behind me, so she can look over the crowd's heads.
Right. Okay. No,
But
fair enough.
we're just observing at this point. We're
Yep.
just watching.
That's all right. Just getting an idea.
I'm trying not to like meddle with things more than we already have meddled in this place, but also just standing away from my team members who will meddle. So.
The middling's already begun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not aware of that.
No.
Alfred, don't you have counterspell yet? Like, couldn't you have stopped
I
this?
don't. I do not have counterspell.
So this is on you.
It's my fault. Yeah.
This is her fault.
Can you get counterspell at level 6?
It's a level 3 spell, so you can get it at level 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to
Yes.
research. Is this something a sorcerer can have?
I believe so.
Yes.
I believe it is.
It's not elemental enough.
No, fair enough.
The flavors.
So this sort of continues for a few more minutes. There is the occasional time where the beacon will step forward to a particular person in the ranks and sort of just place his hands on their shoulders, and there's, he'll actually bend his forehead to touch theirs, and he'll make a comment. And it's usually pretty quiet, but you can hear that he is sort of giving this praise to these people about having done such a good job and whatnot. And eventually it is sort of this moment where he stops midway there and sort of just looks across. The Vermirathrin that had landed have both sort of moved out to the side as well. You see a couple of the stable boys have actually brought out something for them to eat and are kind of cleaning them down. And he sort of, once again, this cape that he has kind of flares out. And with those of you who are closer, so Hetty and Vander, you'll note that it's not actually a cape. It is actually a pair of wings, exactly like that of the Vermirathrin. And so as they sort of flare out and they give this sort of beat, he rises again into the air with his arms out, sort of looking over the crowd. And immediately his voice begins to boom so that everybody can hear it. Those of you proficient with magic would probably understand he's using thaumaturgy on himself. Oh my god. Sorry. And so as he rises up, there's kind of this faint shimmer in the air of his wings as they sort of start to beat. And almost like this heat wave, this haze, begins to rise around him with his arms out.
Does he look like they are his wings, or that he's ripped them off one of these creatures and engineered himself some wings?
The ones on his back are a lot smaller. They are to the same sort of exactly the same shape. You can, I suppose, try and make an investigation check. You haven't really seen... There's probably been one other occasion you would have witnessed the Vermirathrin, and that was back at the Kazdrop Festival. However, I don't think Hetty was truly aware at that point. So,
No, she wasn't. 24 investigation.
24. Even just looking back and forth between them, like, the comparison is very notable. The main difference is as the sun sort of comes through his wings, it's not giving off that same kaleidoscopic look. They don't look like they've been ripped off of him, to be fair. They actually do look like they are a part of him. But yes, as he sort of ascends to this height, the faint skunk odor trailing along underneath him, to which at this point he must be aware. He begins to address the crowd. People of the fort of falling embers, from your lord and liege and those up above, I greet you. In the name of the Keeper of Summer, you have all done exceedingly well. Progress continues apace, and word of your crusade against the bandits has reached us in the capital. Your king is proud, and I will commend to him each and every one of you upon my return. And he just sort of begins to drift over the crowd with his wings sort of beating. And you can sort of see him just looking over everybody. And as he does move, if he sort of, you actually feel like this heat radiating off him, even from a height. And it just begins to sort of move over and in the air. And you can kind of feel the shuffling as everybody sort of turns to look up at him. And even some of the people who've been wearing the sun pendants have kind of, some of them look like they want to go down on their knees, and others are just kind of looking up in complete reverence. And he does this complete circle, giving more sort of just empty sort of praise for everything that's been going on. And you can feel it. Like, you know that this guy is... He might mean it, but it's just such a rote thing that all emphasis feels like it's been lost. But he floats around the courtyard before coming back to his starting point, where at this point Captain Salt has actually emerged from the commander's chambers in full combat kit, and is standing there, hands on her shield, which is fully planted in the ground, just next to Altan and ahead of him. And you see ties sort of come up on her other side. And he begins to sort of drift down, and as he does, the wings sort of fall back down into their cape, and the haze drifts off, and his voice continuing to boom, and it's like, believe me, all is going well. We will very soon leave you.
Insight! I want to insight that.
Yep. What are you inciting? Whether he's telling the truth or not?
Bullshit, all is going well. Is
Yep.
he just trying to, like...
Yeah, go for it.
Move the masses?
Yep. But it's all is going well. But now, very shortly, I shall leave you, your captain, to come with me, where she will be returning to the capital. She will be receiving all that she deserves for her recent endeavors, and you, our faithful, shall receive all that you deserve for your hard work. How'd you go?
16, and God, I hate it when characters phrase shit like that. All that you deserve.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sounds dodgy as fuck. It sounds like he's going to cleanse them by burning this whole place down.
Yeah.
I don't trust him.
So, whether he's lying or not, you guys have already picked up in the small time you've been here, all is not really well in the Summer Realms. Even the captain turned around and basically said, we can't worry about a slaving ring right now because there's too much other shit going on. Again, it's empty banality. This guy is throwing words out that he believes will, ameliorate people's feelings. Like, this is the thing they want to hear. This is what will comfort them and bring them succor in a time of hardship. He's doing the job that he needs to do. He's just probably at a point where he just is so tired and he doesn't give a fuck. He's not trying to sell it anymore. He's just going through the motions. And many of the soldiers here are probably also very aware of that. But you do see that glint in people's eyes where, they are 100% buying this shit. But yeah, as he comes down and he finishes off his little rhetoric, Altan turns around with a sharp 180 on his heel and just yells out, "Dismissed!" to everybody. And you sort of see the crowd sort of begin to disperse a little bit. And as the soldiers and the knights sort of move away, you do see some of these other faithful decide to come creep a little bit closer. Anything you guys would like to do?
Make a comment to Fred, like, we've met like a goddess of, the moon, and they didn't show off as much as this guy.
I'm sure Frey would make a nice cutting remark at this point.
Yeah.
So as the crowd does disperse, probably Nofret and Frey, well, Frey's got a ridiculously high perception. You would also note that... Yeah, the other adventuring company are on the other side of the courtyard, near the inn with no name, and it does appear as though there is a Suruwatha there, who looks like she's in her sort of full kit that you guys haven't seen her in since she left. She's also wearing the trappings of her faith, being of the Keeper of the Dark. And there is this odd-looking crab that seems to have one claw in her hair and is just kind of dangling there, almost like too afraid to let go, but is also paralyzed with fear of falling, so is not actually reaching or moving to try and grab anything else. He's just kind of hanging on, not sure what the hell he's doing here. So there's this other little group over the other side of the courtyard. As everybody just sort of disperses, you do see Jean starts moving a little bit closer towards where the captain, Eltan, and Ty are.
Vander follows.
Yeah,
He's sticking right beside her.
Yeah, no, Hetty was just about to whisper to Vander, "Hey, go see what you can hear."
Yeah. So Vander's the only one going up? Kitty's staying back?
Hetty will toddle up as well.
Yep. I mean, there are other people who have sort of gotten a little bit closer, who are keeping away from this current conversation, but are kind of hovering on the outskirts of what's going on, like, oh, please, Father, bless me with your, whatever. They're just sort of there like he's a celebrity sort of thing, and just kind of congregating. So it wouldn't be too bad
to this guy.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be too difficult to get close. But yeah, Jean sort of walks right up and stands almost just behind Eltan's shoulder. Like she is inserting herself into what is going on here. She's clearly not afraid or worried about any of it. And Vander, especially if you're sort of coming along, are you staying behind Jean, or are you, like, in close?
Behind, but also beside her. Like, he's making the motions around her.
Okay.
When she stops, he will be sitting beside her.
Do you want to make, like, a performance check to see how well you could... I mean, you're a cat, but,
How well can I pretend to be a cat?
A cat that's not listening to human conversations with understanding.
Yeah, exactly. Make people believe that there's no humanoid characteristics or interesting intelligence about this cat.
Do I get advantage because I'm a cat?
I mean, I'm making you roll because you're a cat.
It's a bad roll, isn't it?
I hadn't even done it yet.
Okay.
It's a 17.
17. The thing being, with everything going on, it was not going to be a high DC. Trust me, it was not going to be a high DC at all. Everybody's too fixated on other things to really pay much mind to a cat that's
30.
just there.
We need, like, just a cat version of his little pixel.
But you do come up, and there is more platitudes from the beacon. Where he is in a somewhat low voice talking to the captain. And it has begun as this, sort of this congratulations on the fact that the fort, is being constructed at a fairly decent pace. Congratulations on your recent expedition. And then he sort of begins to move into this, the Summer Stone, which is towards the back of the courtyard near the open gate. Perhaps at some point, given that you are in the Summer Realms, it should be brought forward and put onto a plinth so it can be more accurately seen by those of the faith. And, it's kind of like a way shrine. Like most places you go, they don't necessarily have a temple in the Summer Realms. They've got what's known as a Summer Stone, which is a large red obelisk that has almost like this kind of like the history of the Summer Realms written in picture. Those of you who played the Fennec Adventure, there was one there and gave a description of it then too. But he's sort of saying, hey, as a thing, maybe this should be brought forward because there is no temple here, so this will be a place for the faithful. And you could sort of see that there is this almost as he's going along, because you've got such a ridiculously high perception, there is beginning to creep into everything he's saying this level of derision. Like, I've done my part. I'm about had enough. He's very clearly just a bit of a dick.
He's a
and-
showboaty dick.
Throughout it all, the captain remains quiet, just sort of nodding. And she does, at one point, almost blatantly, halfway through one of his things about how things should perhaps be run, half turn her shoulder on him in kind of this immediate sort of turn march to look at Eltan, where she then just straight up says, "Command is yours, Eltan. Do as you wish. It's in your hands." And then she just, again, abrupt faces to the beacon. It's like, "If you're ready, shall we go then?" She's having none of it. And he just kind of sputters to a halt, and you can see just the seething underneath. Whereas he then and looks at Eltan. It's like, "Congratulations on your temporary command, Eltan. I hope you do a better job than those who have gone before you." And he sort of just lifts his hand and clicks his fingers, and the two Vermirathrin immediately sort of start trottling over. And you sort of see Ty begin to sort of, get the bow ready, and he's got this kind of little quiver with a satchel over the top of it sitting on his hip, and he sort of strides forward to stand next to the captain. And the beacon turns around and looks, and it's like, "And who are you, child?" The captain's just, "This is one of the ones that came from the farms who lost their family in the attack, and he's coming with us." No, I came to get you, Captain. No one else. This child shall remain here, where he can be cared for by people who have the time for it. I will not be able to coddle him on our way back to the capital. And Ty's he's been very restrained, and he hears the word coddle, and it's like, "Oh, I don't need looking after. I can look after myself. Eltan says I already know how to..." And the priest just... He stays behind. Where the captain then responds, "If he stays behind, then I will see you in a few weeks when we ride into the capital. He comes with, or I don't go with you." "We don't have time for this. Bring the boy if you need to." And the two, he immediately starts moving over to the slightly larger one of the Sundarters. And the captain turns to Eltan and just almost kind of gives him a nod. And Eltan sort of looks over at the priest, looks around at the group of people, gives a shrug, and actually goes up and hugs her. And she immediately kind of like, And then he lets go, and she reaches up and slaps him. And then actually laughs. Like, her stony face actually cracks and laughs. Before she sort of punches him in the shoulder and moves over towards the other one with Ty bouncing along behind. And you do see several of the soldiers who now sort of almost kind of, at the fact that they look like they're leaving, have all sort of gathered together to watch. And unless there's anything you guys want to do.
Steal the Vermithrin. Imagine that, eh?
That'd be a task.
Are they sentient? Like, not in the, how do I... At the Vermithrin, like... Could I have can I have a conversation with them?
They are intelligent creatures. They can understand language. Doesn't mean they speak common, but they are of a level of intelligence. Yes, there's a particular reason they are native to the Summer Realms, and they are primarily found around the capital, where they are used mostly by nobility or people of high standing. They are also used as transport to and from the floating palace of Sunhaven. So
How floating are we talking?
It's pretty high.
Oh.
Yeah. It's
Interesting.
like floating as in not connected to the ground.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah. But yep,
Floating castle. It's just on a hill somewhere.
It's very Morrowind.
but you see it from an angle, and it looks like it's floating just because of the angle of it.
Oh, there.
No, it's not. It's actually floating in the sky. That's fine. But the three of them do sort of mount up, and just you can almost, even as the skunk scent kind of fades as he walks away, you can just see that his whole demeanor since he's arrived has just kind of turned into this quiet fury. You don't envy that ride back. And they sort of mount up, and Vermithrin beats of their wings lift up into the air. The clouds of sort of dust come up, and they sort of spiral around, and you do kind of get this this flash, almost of kind of like the sunburst above the orange crystal that is falling embers, and you sort of see this image of the beacon sort of casting this almost pseudo sun just above it. And the Vermithrin fly off to the north.
What a dick!
How loud do you say that?
I was about to say, how loud do you say it?
Pretty loud.
And yeah, you do get a response. Jean laughs. She finds that quite amusing. Eltan's face as he immediately swivels to look at you. And you can see that he's trying very hard not to laugh either. He's putting on this look of like, I should, you know, like he wants to give you a telling off, but he can't disagree with you. But you do sort of get this quiet grumbling from a few of the other people who, at the explosion of this sun in the sky, did kind of let out this, so the faithful, if you will, do kind of look over rather distastefully in your direction.
I walk over with Frey, and I'll get to the group and be like, well, now that we've had our tablespoon of faith medicine for the day, hey, Jean, is this an appropriate moment, or do you need to talk to Altan now he's in charge?
Well, I'm going to assume Eltan's got quite a lot on his plate for the next little while, and he just, I do. And there are some things I'm going to need to sort out. And when and if you guys decide what you're doing about the particular incident and information you came across last night, maybe we should have a chat about that. But I'm going to have to go, I guess, establish my authority. I fucking hate dealing with people. That's why I never wanted to be a commander.
Oh, you hugged the captain pretty well, though. That's kind of a good peopling you've done today.
She needed it more than I did, even if it didn't look like it.
I commend you, you know. Two awkward
What a
people.
brave man.
Yeah.
Please don't. I got a lot to do.
We'll talk to you later.
I might talk with you later. And he immediately sort of strides off and begins, barking out some commands. And you can see that he's kind of uncomfortable at the fact that he's doing. He's used to doing it as like a second in command. He's not used to
different
doing
when
it.
the hat's on your head. Yeah.
Yeah, as the man who bears all of the responsibility now, you can see that it does not sit comfortably on his head. He's not okay with this
Sucks to be you,
situation,
bro.
even though he was warned that it was coming. And you do, as he wanders off, you're still going to get this slight shake of Jean's head as she gives out this tisk tisk. And she sort of looks around at you. It's like, well, I suppose now is as good a time as any to talk. Gotta wash that dirty taste out of our mouths.
I mean, he's a good salesman. I'll give him that.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, look at those guys. They're all like, wow.
Wow, yes, but they were sold on the product before he even arrived to sell it.
Yeah, that's true.
It's easy to sell to somebody who wants what you're selling.
Sounds like the Summer Realms needs a lot of that at the moment. What they're selling.
Well, That or a little less. Depending on your perspective, I suppose.
Yeah, depending on if you want the reality stick or not, you know?
That's one way of looking at it. Right. If we're going to discuss this, I don't know if it's going to be just the two of us, or if anybody else wants to be in on what I need to discuss with you. But we should probably not do it in open forum.
I look to my team. I specifically look at Hetty. I don't think I can be alone. Apparently, my team is very much interested in being in the same room as each other at all times. So, but yeah,
Right.
a private space would be nice for us and them.
All right then.
Hi, Piv.
Then I suppose you should come with me. And she sort of turns and walks over to the other side of the courtyard from where the tavern is. And it, as I say, it's a reasonable size, but you are actually on that same side. The tavern was on the far side. You're on the side closer to where she's going. And there is one of the small stone buildings set just up and against the wall. That as she sort of comes close to it, she does that sort of jerk motion with her hand, and you sort of see that golden bracelet with the rings slip down over her hand. And as she walks up to the door, she just puts her hand out, and you see this flash on the wooden door as almost like fire begins to engrave into it and create this shape, and the door just opens as the shape completes, and she walks through and just beckons you all to come with.
Is that for privacy or a mechanism?
Oh, I
which
like
to
to
lock
keep all of my I like to keep all of my things relatively private, and I figured it's just another way to show you some of what the applications of things that the runes can be used for. I'm not quite as subtle about it as others are.
Right. There's others?
And she doesn't reply. She's just like, this is not a conversation to be had out in the open. Y'all going in? All right. And you find yourself in a room that, oddly enough, seems to be pretty well furnished, relatively lavish, and somehow larger than the space outside. Like,
Bigger on the inside?
Yep, it's a motherfucking TARDIS. It's not really, but it definitely appears to be a series of rooms that occupy a space larger than its exterior size would indicate. So you also get the impression that whatever it is she did on the door wasn't just opening the door. It was opening it to a different space altogether.
It was opening our door.
It was opening a door, yes.
Ah.
And this place is really well furnished. Like, you've seen some of the merchant places, some of the guild houses, and the way that many of these very wealthy and extravagant individuals furnish. She's very clearly done the same. And it is all very much in the name of comfort and just being nice and cozy. So there are cushions and drapes and sofas and divans and tables with goblets, and you can just see carafes full of chilled, you're assuming wine. Just this whole place screams a level of decadence, but it's not, oh hey, I have a ridiculous amount of money. It's just, I like this shit. It's somebody who is not doing it for the sake of showing off. It's somebody who, this is just the way I like to live.
It's the creature comforts.
Yeah, exactly. And she likes indulging in creature comforts. And so, yeah. So as she sort of wanders on, and she just does kind of immediately just throw herself down on one of the sofas and just kind of wriggle in to get comfortable for a moment before just letting it okay, and then sits up and, ceases making herself that level of comfortable before picking up one of the chilled pitchers and starts pouring a reddish liquid into some goblets. Depending on how many of you are in there and would like to partake.
Can Hetty find like a cushion on the floor and just curl up and start? She's going to pull out needle and thread. She's going to be listening, but trying to give Sister a little bit of privacy.
Yep.
And she's going to start on the god-awful scarves that she's bought.
All the sashes and things you got?
With her needle and thread, she's going to be starting a creation.
Yep.
I like how it's not a thing, it's a creation.
It's just screaming in the head, I swear.
Which is good, because it's also distracting Sekit. You know?
Yeah.
Also true.
Give Sister as much privacy as possible.
Being present, but giving space.
We could also say that Frey went to Suruwatha at this point.
I mean, if you didn't want Suruwatha to come with you, but I mean, that's, either way, we can have either way. It really doesn't matter too much for the particular circumstance. We can decide whether Frey overheard any of this later.
Yeah.
Vander, still a kitty, and what are you doing?
Still a kitty. He's gonna wait for one of the glasses to be put down in front of someone, and then he's going to sit in front of it and dip his paw into it and lick it, and he's gonna drink that way. That's what he's gonna do. Yep.
Oh, that's adorable.
He's like, this is mine now.
So the first thing she does is she does offer a goblet of wine, chilled wine, to Nofret. Whether you choose to accept it or not, she will go to hand it to you.
I'll take it out of, you always accept a drink from someone else when you enter their household. That's like our thing in the tribes.
Yep. And then she does pour another one, and she goes to offer it to Hetty, who's now making herself comfortable on a cushion on the floor, and Jean doesn't really seem to mind at all. This area is all about making yourself comfortable. She understands. Sometimes you just want to be on the floor with a cushion.
Hetty will probably be so focused that the wine's kind of sat in front of her, and that's the one Vander has.
Yeah, I was about to say, 'cause if you
whichever
don't
one hits the ground
accept
first.
if you don't actively accept it, she will pull like a little footstool over in front of you and put it on there. At which point, that's probably where Vander hops up on that and starts dipping and tasting. At which point, she's just going to look at the cat she hasn't really seen before, but she noticed out in the courtyard. And there's going to be this moment of perplexity before she just kind of, cute. She was potentially going to go
I'm going to take
and get,
that opportunity to be like, yeah, he's a very good boy, and I'm going to scruffle his little head. Yeah, good boy. Mm.
She was going to get some milk for him, but he's clearly enjoying the wine. So instead, she just pours another goblet of wine and puts it beside the first in case Hetty decides to be less distracted. So she then just goes and reclines back on one of the sofas before just sort of gesturing languidly out towards one that's nearby for you to take a seat there if you would like, Nofret.
I sit, not into the chair, because I know that this is sort of I have to be paying my full attention if this person knows something. So I'm sitting on the edge of it, just holding the cup between my hands, not really drinking from it, but just looking to her, kind of.
Yeah, you're being attentive.
Yeah.
Yep. So as she does sort of take a full minute to just sort of recline a little bit back into the cushions and to kind of get herself comfortable. And by the time she does, she's actually had most of the goblet of wine, where she then immediately sits up, undoing all of the hard work she'd just done, and pours herself another. Before she sort of looks over at you and just, so, perhaps we should begin by you telling me, if you don't mind, what you know about what you've got. Where it came from? Is it part of your magic? I have so many questions, but if you can tell me what you know, I know where we can start.
May I first start by asking you just a simple question?
Of course. Just a conversation is all this is.
Yeah. Can I trust you?
I would like to think so. I did just invite you into my home and offer you some wine, and I'm happy to give you some information about the things that you can do. You've also just recently walked into my life, and I invited you into my house. I suppose I should be asking if I can trust you, given that you did just, fireball part of the creation that I've been busy making all of this time. Goes both ways, don't you think?
It does. It does. It is more.
Perhaps over the length of this conversation, we can learn to trust each other if you don't already. And she reclines back just a little. She doesn't go all the way back in. She makes herself slightly less sitting on the edge.
Did she seem honest in everything she was saying?
Would you like to make an insight check?
Yeah.
You may do so.
I mean, I want to try. The player wants to, but Nofret also skeptical about everything. Is that a D12? No, that was it. That is a D12. It was a D12. That one! Manish Kabushki!
I love that you guys have started making so many more insight checks since you've obviously not been able to trust so many people in the past. It's finally started happening.
Yeah,
rolled
dear.
the same
I
on
wonder.
both dice. That's 4.
4?
It's good. It's promising. These dice
I mean,
usually trust me.
It's hard to know exactly what's going on. She seems pretty open and frank about most things, and also like she wears a lot of emotions on her face. But you also get the impression that there's potentially a part of that that's a facade. Like she throws that out there as a front to throw people off. So you really don't know whether she's being completely honest here or not. The one thing you can say, and it wouldn't have mattered what you'd rolled, you definitely seem to have piqued her academic curiosity.
That's good enough for me.
So if you can rely on anything, you can rely on the fact that you are an opportunity for her to learn something. She's very, very curious.
Oh. Okay, well, your question was in what I know about it, and if it connects to my magic.
Well, how about, do you know where it came from first? Always a good point to begin is the beginning.
For me, I have an idea of what our beginning was. However, with time, I am starting to believe that perhaps it is something that has always been there. It was just waiting for an opportunity to. But I'm unsure. It's
To emerge.
So
So when was the first time, like, that you noticed that you had this power or these runes? Was it something that happened spontaneously, or were you under duress? Sorry, I'm just.
No.
How about...
It's good to have prompts. I am a water seeker of my tribe, which means that for long periods of time I am out alone, trying to find the next place that our tribe can go. For water. It's complicated.
But
Just
valuable in the
just
desert,
kidding.
I understand.
Yeah. But it means I find interesting things. And I've kind of gotten, an interest for archaeology. The desert is a place full of history, as you would probably understand.
Oh, yes.
So sometimes I just go with my intuition. And one day, just felt as if I was being watched, as if something could see me and was asking me to come closer. I kind of went between some rocks as I came round. There was this pool of water, that I'm looking for. So my intuition was correct. But it felt different. And there was a creature that healed himself from the rock's faces? I've seen him many times since. He is... Well, maybe they is a better word for it. He's a dark red, orange, yellow rock, you know, multifaceted, and he has some lichen growing between his joints. His eyes are obsidian. Some of the cracks between are also quite dark, crystalline. He does not necessarily speak to me, and he didn't that day either, but he gestured into the pool, and as I turned around, there was something glowing. So I reached out to touch it. Sometimes curiosity gets the better of you.
It does.
There's a bit of a fuzz for me. What happens between then and heading back to the tribe. But when I went to take the family there to the water source, it no longer existed.
It wasn't there anymore, or it just didn't exist?
It was not there. The water was not there. The moss
Curious.
and the rocks was not there. It was like it was the same place. You know, I could take them round the rock to where this spot was, but there was nothing.
And so it was from that point on that you had the lights.
I found this one first. And it felt to me as if when it glowed, I understood how air moved more. And I could use that manipulation. Got me in trouble a couple of times. Helped me manipulate words so that I could make a better sale. But that was always very short-lived.
That's an interesting application. So do you feel as though it was something that was a gift, or do you feel as though it was something that was always there, that was awakened within you?
Hetty snorts in the corner.
You have an opinion, sister?
No. I am just doing needlework.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was funny about awakening something that's always been there.
Ah, right. Well, you would know that sensation. For me, I mean, it does not feel like an awakening because I don't understand it. It's not like I woke up and I suddenly understood who I was or what my intention in this place was. It is, it feels as if it was a challenge.
So you've never had any true understanding of what it is? You've never had any explanation by anybody, or being taught exactly what any of it means?
We had a companion for a time that seemed to understand a little about runes, but we never... In the tribes, I was the only one.
Well, let me begin by saying, whilst most people can learn, if you will, to harness runic power, it is something that obviously comes better to those of us who already have an arcane knowledge. For those to have a, shall we call it a natural gift for it, it's something in the blood. So I'm going to imagine that whatever this is, as you sort of makes various sort of points at wherever on your body she thinks these things are. It must have always been within you. I've only ever met one other person who had runes on their skin, and they didn't act the way yours do. His were tattoos all over his body, and he was the one who taught me. Can you do what you did the other day? Can you light them up when you so choose?
It's usually connected to when I cast spells. That seems to be the triggering point and when they would light up.
So you can't do it without casting a spell?
I've been to the bathhouse sometimes to go through a kind of meditative process to light them, but it's not instantaneous.
Can you try? However many of these runes you have, right here, right now, can you try to light them up for me? And perhaps I can go through them one by one and tell you what they mean. But I need to be able to see them to be able to tell you.
I have taken notes on some of them from looking in the mirror, and I pull out those notes and kind of put them down for her. But I shall also try.
Please.
Nofret will sit and cupping the goblet. She just kind of reaches out her senses and thinks about water. She'll cast locate water to just spread her senses out and start that sort of meditative process that she goes through.
Her gift?
Yeah.
Yep.
She just feels all of like how wet this land is in comparison to the desert.
Weirdly, you don't feel much in the way of water in this area. In fact, this area feels very, very strange to anywhere you've been before. While there's certainly a plethora of wine and other liquids.
Nice. Because we're in her house.
You're in what potentially would be an extra dimensional space.
I love that.
So not really much in the way of a supply of proper water.
Yeah.
All right. So do any of your things light up?
I need to like fucking read up about my shit again. Yeah. So I'll say like initially the one she is always aware of kind of lights up first.
Yep.
And so it's just peeking out from the edge of her head wrap, and then she's gonna use basically a bunch of bonus actions to start lighting up all the other runes. So. Okay. The light will travel across her face, over the bridge of her nose, down her cheek, and onto her, the side of her mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes down and lights up the middle of her neck, and then travels, across to her collarbone, which is when the kind of trail disappears. But then you'll see her hand light up, and I'll also do the belly button.
Right. So the lines can be seen and the dots can be seen through what you're wearing. But as they start lighting up and some of the lines start traveling between, Jean puts her goblet down on the table and just intently leans forward and begins tracing it with her eyes. And as you open yours after your concentration, she's sort of busy really intently looking at the bright lights. And when she catches your eye, after you've finished concentrating, it's like, do you mind if I take a closer look? And I should be able to, I suppose, identify.
I strip off my shirt
I mean, she was just asking for permission to get in close, but sure, if you want to disrobe.
Yeah. Sexy time.
So,
No,
so
she's
she gets.
Nofret just looks at her and says, "At this point, I can't be scared of answers. So,
I will try to provide some, but I need to know what I'm answering first. So, and she immediately sort of reaches into one of her little pouches and pulls out a crystal shard, where she lifts it up into the air and taps it once with one of her fingers, and it lets it go and it hovers there, and then she taps it twice more, and then she begins pushing it towards you, and you sort of watch that as it comes close, the crystal itself becomes transparent, and she brings her eye very close to it, and you can sort of see her eye much larger through it. It's like a magnifying glass as she begins to study the one at your temple, because of course they're very tiny, and so she needs to be able to see it in a lot more detail. And she sort of reaches out her hand, and then once again sort of leans over, pulls herself away from the crystal, and catches your eyes. Like, do you mind if I?
no, it's okay.
Okay. And she actually sort of puts her finger on your temple, and she can sort of see the light through her finger, and then she pulls it away, and then she just quite clearly says, "Air. This stands for the element of air." And then she sort of moves the crystal down to the other side of your face, to the cheek, and she sort of looks at it, and takes even less time as she sort of touches it and begins like tracing on the spot where the light is. She begins tracing it in a larger scale of exactly what it is, and then she mutters, "Power. This is power." Then she runs her finger down under your jaw towards your throat, and this one takes her a little bit, and it tickles as she's running her throat, as runs her finger around your throat, sort of redrawing the rune in bigger scale, where she just sort of says, "Well, this one is, I suppose it translates to sound, but it can also mean resonance or vibration. Fitting, I suppose, for where it is on your body." Runs down to your collarbone and begins tracing, "And this one is body, another foundational." Down to your belly button, where she actually just places her hand there, and then she starts drawing the rune on the back of her own hand over your belly button. It's like, life. And then moves over to your hand, and just turns your hand over so the back of your hand is up, and then draws on the back of your hand. It's like, "And this one is another elemental one. Earth. Interesting. You have, from the looks of it, 2 elemental runes,
It's dirty and cursing.
and 2 of the foundational runes.
This is this headlock.
2 elementals and 2 foundationals and 2 extensions. Curious. So these appear whenever you cast your spells.
Wait, 2 foundationals, 2 elemental. What was the other bitch?
2 extensions.
2 extensions.
Yeah. She's more muttering that to herself rather than using them as a form of explanation at the moment.
It is definitely when I use magic, especially when I manipulate it to some degree. But it also serves as a protection. If I am
That makes sense.
taking damage, if something hits me in combat, sometimes it feels as if I am encased.
Well, I mean, and she taps your collarbone and your hand, between those 2, yes, you would be able to generate a protective field around yourself. You cast spells, now this is probably going to sound very strange, much like anyone else would. You have a predisposed idea in your mind of how a spell functions and you cast it to those parameters. Like, for example, the fireball that you cast. You just know how to cast it. You go through the words, the motions, and cast the spell.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could just call it. It's natural. It's not like a wizard at the books or something.
Have you tried doing... you have the knowledge to do it, though? Like, the knowledge of how to do it is in your head.
Yeah, and, I guess
Have
with
you
time
tried-
I figured out new ways of doing things.
And have you tried doing something that you're not aware of?
How do you mean casting spells I have not seen before, or?
Well, for example, and she taps your temple again, and then she taps your collarbone. It's like, can you focus on these two? Can you channel some of your energy into just these two runes? Forget spells, forget casting things, but focus on these two, and perhaps focus on an end result. So, imagine making yourself lighter.
Okay.
So she's asking you to focus on ear and body.
I like tilt my head and close my eyes again. And I sort of think about the sensation of movement in the dream that I have, where I can travel really long distances, short spans of time, and how I can feel weightless there.
The weightless. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about that.
Okay. So, what I'm going to ask, Nofret, is right now, in this moment,
Hmm.
you are going to be capable of expending either a couple of sorcery points, like 1 sorcery point, 2 sorcery points, or a hit dice, or 2 hit dice, to potentially be able to do something. But it is up to you how much and of what you would like to do to maybe accomplish this. This is not how this will go going forward. This is like a breakthrough sort of a thing.
This is like an awakening. Okay.
That's the idea.
Okay.
Sorry to the rest of the party.
Yeah, thank you everyone for your patience today. I'm sure you can all tease me with it later. I'm
Just
gonna...
drinking wine.
Inebriate a cat!
The cat's like... She floating?
Hetty is just enjoying her patchwork.
D&D is very much a form of therapy. Scrim. This was always going to be more like an educational thing. Weirdly.
Okay. I'm gonna expend a hit dice. Because we're not
One
gonna
hit
die
dice?
today. But I'm also going... Because I now have the Armor of Shadows. I want like to lose Armor of Shadows for the day. I want the sensation of that encasing to like appear. And you know how we talked about like it's like she's covered in rock, and for a second she like looks as if she's protected by that rock creature. I want it to appear and like dissipate.
Okay.
Like it just fractures and goes psh.
Alright, so you are spending 1 hit dice and you're going to use Armor of Shadows.
Yeah.
Okay.
'Cause she
Roll
would've already
D100 for me.
popped it for today.
Yep.
Let me put my dice tray up here in the light where I can actually see it because it's dark in my room. It got dark. 58.
58. And you spend 1 hit dice. Yeah. Okay. So there is a moment after you try to concentrate on these 2 runes. And now you are used to them lighting up in a sequence. You are used to them drawing this same pattern every time. But the moment you sort of focus on them and you bring out your Armor of Shadows and you expend some of your energy, those lines disappear. And then all of a sudden, between your temple and your collarbone, the line connects those 2 runes. And they flare. And immediately, you actually lift up off the couch and begin to drift towards the ceiling. where Jean just reaches out, snatches your wrist, and laughs, and drags you back down onto the couch, where that feeling just disappears in a moment.
I spilled some of the wine. I'm so sorry.
Don't be sorry. You have the capacity for runic castings. Given the runes you have tattooed, I guess, onto your body, they will be limited. Oh, how do I explain this? Runes? Oh. Magic that exists in the world didn't always exist as it does now. Like people, it's gone through an evolution. The magic that existed in the world as we knew it started with runes. Runes are capable of altering the possibility of what is, or altering the reality of what is into becoming a possibility of what might be.
Oh.
I learnt from somebody who has spent an entire lifetime studying these, and my grasp of it is still not particularly comprehensive, shall we say. I understand more about the runes than what I do that I can actually manipulate them, but the fact that you took what I said and activated it just like that, Yosit would love to meet you.
What's the name? Yosa?
Yosit.
Yosit.
Yosit. And she just sort of sits there beaming and looking at you almost kind of in this sort of, you're not sure if it's in wonder or if it's in like this predatory sort of,
It's
you
the
know,
academic
like,
who's found something
yeah,
interesting.
it's the academic in her. And so she's, so as I was sort of explaining outside, because magic has evolved, most of the spells that people are familiar with are almost pre-programmed, pre-designed. And the runes still exist in the gestures we make to cast spells, but they've been simplified because there's no change, there's no alteration, there's no possibility in it. They are set. And they have become that way over time, and so people are used to casting preset pieces of magic. But if you understand runes, you don't need to have predetermined acts of magic. You can take the foundation of reality and create the magic and the effect that you want. And it is limited only by the runic knowledge you have and the power that you can put into it. The fact that you have them as a part of your very being is very, very curious.
So, from what I am understanding, it is our grandmother. She is a dream walker. It feels like that.
It's possible, but it's almost more than that. I mean, it could certainly allow one to do so. And if it came from your blood, it's possible that your grandmother has it too. I don't know. She's never spoken to you of it?
Not of runes, just of dreams.
Can't imagine all dreamwalkers are capable of runic magic. What I will say, I don't believe we really have a huge amount of time for me to go into teaching you how it works.
It's always the way of it.
Understand there will be limitations on what you can do. There are many runes that exist, and the way that runic magic is done is every casting has a foundational rune, something that you build from. Typically there are 4 you only have 2 at the moment, which is power, which is where she touches the cheek, and life, where she pats your belly button. These are 2 of the foundational runes. Anything you wish to cast with runic magic will always have a greater chance of succeeding should you utilize this and build from them. From there, you can either create a sequence where you cast runes one after another, creating an overlapping layer. And she starts getting right into trying to explain it. You can start creating an overlapping sigils where they connect on all of their edges to create desired effects. The more complex, the more concrete the idea of what you're trying to bring into effect. The more power you have to exert to do it. But, and she just keeps going. Or you can create a layered rune instead of a sequenced rune where you draw
rolled
on...
an 11 onto intelligence. So she's following like half of this?
Yeah. So she starts talking about how you can then layer them, so you can place one rune on top of another to create a slightly different effect. And it takes a good couple of minutes before she realizes, oh, she went full into academic mode and probably said a whole lot of shit that made absolutely no sense. But she narrows it back down to being, should you choose to experiment, you must be incredibly careful. And in the early days, I would recommend always using a foundational rune to start. And then never double up a rune. Never. And the most important thing, hold in your mind the intent of what it is you are trying to do. Never let that waver. And never let yourself be distracted while you are casting it, for intent is more important than the runes. Plus, never put more energy into it than you can afford. People who have experimented have inadvertently killed themselves from putting too much of their own life force into it.
Oh, that's certainly comforting.
And, the other thing I will say, the other 2 foundational runes, should they ever become a part of this, just so you're aware of them, will be mind and death.
Sorry, did you say death?
Yes.
Great. That's so good for me. But why is... I guess in the grand scheme of things, everything must die. And
Many
death is
people
also
would-
a representation of rebirth, is it not?
Many people would see life and death as basically being the same sort of thing on a runic scale, but unfortunately not all things that have life can still die. It's, like I say, I spent years and years learning the basics of what I know. There is not a lot that I can teach you in the time that we have.
Oh, this has been incredibly helpful. In my head, I thought they were all elemental because I understood air and earth, but I think that is just...
Well, perhaps now that you have...
Spells.
Perhaps now that you have at least some sort of understanding, when and if more of these develop, because I'm assuming they will be, you might have a greater level of control over them.
That would be nice. That would be great.
You understand your letters, I'm assuming. Sorry, I don't mean to sound pretentious.
Do you mean in common tongue?
Yes, I mean, I can write it out in something else if that makes more sense to you.
I understand my letters.
Okay, just as I said, I don't mean to sound, pretentious, but...
No, I have not reached academia levels yet, but I
No,
understand
that's fine.
letters.
What I will do is, before you go, I will chart out a number of the runes that I'm aware of, what they look like, and what they represent. And I suppose I will leave that with you. I would love to have more discussion about this, obviously, but again, time is a factor, and I don't want to bore your sister and your cat.
Ah, he's a good boy.
And very, very thirsty.
Ah, it's good for him. Builds character.
So, what this means, mechanically,
Ah!
Nofret, is you now have access to a very basic level of runic castings.
Ooh.
So these don't take spell slots,
Mm-hmm.
they don't take sorcery points, and they don't take hit dice.
Who they take?
They can, should you so choose to use that as a source of energy. But the idea is that you put together a series of runes out of what you've got on your body
Mm-hmm.
to try and achieve a specific effect.
Okay.
So it can only really be something that using those runes can kind of make some form of sense. The further away it is, the harder it becomes. I
So
will
like
go.
any, like touch range might be easy to do. 10 feet, 30
You
feet.
you
is
almost
getting
always
difficult.
have to try and inscribe a rune onto what it is you're trying to affect.
Ah. Okay.
Uh, However, the fact that air was your beginning does give you a certain amount of leniency to that. You can use air to increase a distance, sort of a thing.
Right.
It's fairly open and liberal, but the further away you get from what that rune might be capable of doing, the much harder a DC will become. Now, when I say it doesn't take one of those resources, here's the thing. The more runes you decide to put into a casting, and you can't put more in than exceeds your proficiency modifier,
okay.
the easier it becomes.
So I have to think about it and be like, how can I combo wombo these?
Yeah, you have to come up with an idea, put your
Okay.
runes that you have available into that up to a maximum of your current proficiency modifier, and then I will come up with a DC. And you will have to roll that.
Oh, this sounds like such a fun
And
fucky wucky time.
Here is the thing with it, there is consequence. So the harder something is, or the less runes you put into it without practice, the much higher the DC becomes.
Okay.
And if you fail a DC, the penalties can be quite severe,
Oh.
to the point of you start earning exhaustion immediately.
Okay.
If you succeed, sometimes, depending on of what you were trying to do, you can still actually accrue a penalty. And sometimes I will say, if you want to do this, you need to spend a resource.
Okay.
Sometimes I will straight up tell you need to. And as you get more runes, clearly your options for the things you might be able to do over time
Brother.
will expand.
And when do we get +4 proficiency?
I can't remember off the top of my head. But I
Next
will
level, I
say,
think.
I think it is next level.
runic magic
Mm.
is the magic that actually exists in canon Syleria. Like that's the magic that exists in my world, not the standard D&D style of magic.
Mm.
So this is me trying to bring a little bit of what actually exists in my world into yours. And yes, I've been holding on to it since the moment you decided to create your character as a rune child sorcerer. So you did that.
So excited.
You chose to be something that I got to play with. In fact, kind of everybody did. But yeah, we can have a bit more of a discussion about how that works. I mean, that's the very basics of it anyway, as you go. But you're not going to be able to do anything more than very basic things, as is.
Yeah. No.
So like your
got
current
you.
level enables you to cast like level 3 spells. Should you try to emulate something that's a higher level beyond what you can cast, immediately the DC is going to go up.
Right.
It still needs to be within the realm of what is actually possible for
Yeah.
your sort of level.
Okay.
But yeah, and there will
I'm
be probably
excited.
something else. There will probably be something else I'll throw into that for you later. But I need to sit down and work out the actual value of it myself. But yes, Jean will go into explaining a lot of that sort of stuff for you while either Vander continues to drink and maybe get drunk, up to him.
And Hitty's going, ow!
And Hitty, you're going to have plenty of time, depending on how long you guys want to sit here for this. Yeah, we're gonna get Should we make it just a dexterity check? Yeah, let's make it a dexterity check. Sorry, guys. I know that was a lot, but
Thank you.
that's something that's
thanks
been
to the team for being patient with it.
that's something that's been coming since your backstory. There have been a lot of people you've met who have the idea of rune magic. This is the first person you've met that's seen you do it.
Yeah.
That also has that knowledge herself to go, huh?
8.
8. Okay. Oh, by the way, that was also exercise for the whole manifestation of will thing you guys had in Freya Lisa's thing. You know how you can just come up with something and see what happens? That's kind of along the same sort of lines. Come up with something and then find a way to make it work. You got an 8?
I did.
Well, I will say those sashes are certainly attached to each other.
Oh no, you've embroidered them all together.
I'm just picturing the most, biggest, ugliest stitching, just stitching them together.
And it's been restitched over some of the stitches because you weren't happy with where they were joining, and so you've gone ahead and redone it, and now it's like this overlapping stitching. Super captivating to listen to. Was it stream? Oh my god. That's great. I wasn't thinking it was going to be particularly interesting for people who didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, because it's all the homebrew stuff that people aren't aware of.
Yeah.
But I feel like we should probably, out of character talk, we should probably look at the rune child, what happens at later levels, and maybe we'll just adjust it to fit to your world better.
That's the idea.
Yeah, cool. Because
I
remember what comes later on, but I'm like, I don't feel like that fits.
It's part of the rest of the decision, and that was also why I was incredibly excited when you said you were going to be a rune child, and I was literally kind of bouncing in my seat going, yay!
Yeah.
Because rune magic is how my magic system in Syleria actually runs.
Get pumped.
It was just, not something that I could put in as mechanics.
No, you're the best, Piff.
But yes, time will drag on as you guys do this. So... yeah, how much are you drinking, Vander?
Oh, he's definitely finishing that glass of wine.
Just the one?
Depends on if Nofret is keeping an eye on her glass.
She put hers down when
he's
her and
finishing
Jean
that
were
one,
talking.
sorry.
Yeah. So she was zoned out. I think she had one sip of it.
He's quite a drunkard by this point.
At some point, if there's one
that's
that's empty...
carrying you out,
The other thing being, if at some point there's one of them that's empty, while Jean is talking, she will actually just lift up this chilled carafe and still refill empty goblets while she's busy talking to Nofret. She'll just do it without looking.
So focused.
Yep. Hey man, academics that are not used to seeing something outside of the area that they learnt it.
I can tell you that's so fucking true too.
Yeah,
Academics get stupidly excited.
She went specifically to a university. By the way, she will tell you it was in the city of Varish in Torloon. Is where she was trained by the man named Yosit, who had the runes tattooed onto his body. She learned all of this at a university, and now she doesn't see the Summer Realms as like a backwater, but as somebody who spent time at a university learning all of this stuff, nobody here knows any of that really. And the fact that she found somebody randomly that happened to have access to that naturally and didn't know about it, oh yeah, that's a thing. So, time carries on, and I would like Vander to make me a Constitution saving throw, please.
I'm gonna carry you out of here.
Let's see how drunk this kitty
carrying
gets.
this cat.
16.
16?
Oh, damn.
You know what? You do really fucking well, and you manage to hold your liquor.
Definitely stumbling around.
You're probably pretty frickin' drunk, but you managed to do it without,
there is
all over the
a
place.
chance he may have thrown up somewhere behind a couch.
Quite possibly.
And now you're licking your butt in front of us as a cat. We're like, you're not always a cat. You don't need to lick your butt.
I'm selling the pot, damn it.
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
I love when you You're like, no one knows I'm a fucking cat, man. Like,
We gotta sell the cat.
I'm just an average cat. Oh, this is nothing to see.
where's the catnip? Oh shit, I gotta hit the good stuff.
So I don't know if you guys want to take a break, especially because unfortunately, Hitty and Vandy, you guys haven't had much to do, and I'm sorry about that.
I do have to run to the loo, so
Yeah,
I will
so-
need a break.
So I think
Break
maybe take a
time.
quick little break, and then we can move on from that that segment of stuff.
Yeah,
that's
because
been
the only
brewing
other
for a
thing that I was
while.
gonna ask was where could I find this Yosit, but you just answered me.
Yeah, she would have at some point during all of that mentioned that it was at the Red City in Torloon. So
Right.
it is one of the two
Um,
within the eastern reaches of Syleria. It's one of the two places where the most academic institutions can be found. The Red City of Varish, Torloon, the Red City of Varish in Torloon, or you've got the learning districts in Lyra, would be the other one that might have the same sort of thing. But she specifically learnt in Varish under somebody who, well, I hesitate to call them a master, but definitely knew what the fuck they were talking about.
there was that monk that I talked to.
Wayward Leaf.
Yes.
Yep.
Where's that one?
The monastery for that's here in the Summer Realms. That is to the north. It's the Kaivol and Esther. Basically, you would head north from here towards Sunhaven, and then, unless you actually knew where you were going, you would go into Sunhaven, and then there is a road out to the west that, if you follow that, will take you through one of the forests and the foothills of the Sunreach Mountains, and the monastery is there within that forest and foothills.
So not the same place.
No,
Well,
you're in the southern Summer Realms at the moment. Yeah.
Also,
It's
Nerdy wants
yeah.
us to all hydrate.
I've hydrated already a couple times now. Since
I
that one.
am also needing to.
Yep,
Because I've
but-
hydrated so much. Okay. Does my character multi-class? Does she not?
Well, you've been wondering about it for a while. I know you were talking about it ages ago, but that's entirely up to you.
But it could be cool to like manipulate my runes while punching shit. That could be so fun.
Well, out of campaign, there are two runic classes. One that Yolsid is a part of. They have the runes tattooed into their body, and they manipulate the runes. The other one, and I may have mentioned it a long time ago,
Yeah.
they manipulate runes by singing and dancing. And it is the movement of their body that draws the runes, and the singing that puts the power through it.
Nofret can do the dancing bit.
So both of those,
Singing bit.
both of
Becca
those,
can do the singing bit.
Maybe.
both of them technically could be used also as a monk thing.
Multi-class. Okay. Well, do you guys need to run away and do stuff?
Yeah, I need to sort out jittery puppy.
Little nugget.
Yep, we'll take a short break.
Skabushki! Check out this awesome BRB screen. Everybody in the club.
Casual Chaos Club!
Casual Chaos Club. I'm gonna deafen and be back in 5. I don't know.
Yeah, 5 works.
Woo! You're very spicy, chat. Thank you for being here today. The music's gonna crank up now. Blah! Oh, that's too loud. Oh, that was aggressive. I'm so sorry. Okay, I'll be right back. Wings of Karaneth is a banger, alright? Pretty sure I've had this on repeat too long, though. Let's change it up. Let's get a different song. Through the Valleys. Sunrise of Flutes. Maybe we'll do a mixture of those two. How are you, Piff? We have Driftwood. Driftwood's fun. Why are you losing your mind? What's going on? Talk to me. I'm good. It's uni break quotation marks, which basically means that I'm working my ass off marking assignments, and chasing the late hand-ins and figuring out all of the things so that it can all be done on time. Other than that, everything's actually pretty good. Yeah, we're actually moving into our new building on campus. That starts literally tomorrow, the move. Simultaneously with all of this paperwork we have to do for the break. It's just, it's really so well timed. Sarcasm. So I think they're asking me to move the entire costume room from the old building to the new space. I think that's going to be one of my random jobs I have to do, which could be really fun because I love costumes. I think it's so fun. And I think, I don't know. And then I can set it up in a way that makes sense to my brain, which will be kind of fun. I don't know. And then maybe I'll just convince them to pay me to like actually make like a categorization of what's in there and figure out like, I don't know, how to track sizing and things. But you know, just the weird things. Scream. Thanks for hanging out today. I know it's late for you. I appreciate it. Trying to upgrade my internet to NBN in the hopes it will fix our net from dropping out so often, and so far it's taken an hour talking to the idiot salesperson. I want to smack her! I'll smack her for you. You tell me where she fucking lives, I'll go there. That sucks. I feel like, I don't know. I have like a few friends from like different parts of the world that all just like really struggle with internet providers. I'm like, how hard is it? I know it's kind of difficult in some areas, but like, how hard is it to let my cool friends who want to stream cool shit on the internet have good internet? Okay, Quinn's back. I'll undeafen now. We do it online to make it easier, but because I hate going in, but fuck me. Sometimes just talking to a human name. Kablunky. Are we back?
Kaboom!
Ka-chow.
I suppose so.
Oh, click the right button. This button.
That always helps. Right. Hello. Hello, lovely people.
Hello.
All right. No. Get back into it. Might as well.
Does the cat have hiccups?
I don't know. Does the cat have hiccups?
Drunk little.
Rolling. Roll for
No.
hiccups.
Ah.
No. The cat does not have hiccups, but possibly looks a little unsteady. You're not sure. You're not sure if the cat is actually unsteady because it's inebriated, or if the cat is unsteady to make you think that it's inebriated. And being that it's Vander, you just can't tell.
We just can't tell if he's
all
being
an
just a
act.
wobbly cat. Like.
Yep.
He's actually swapped out this for grape juice the whole time. None of you have noticed.
That's so great.
Even in cat form, a sleight of hand is ridiculous. Sleight of paw, I suppose. But yes, as Jean goes through her ramblings and her bits and pieces, and somewhat in an attempt to enlighten Nofret and perhaps maybe pull more information about her, about where she got the abilities from and whatnot, we have our crafting from Hetty and we have our drinking from Vander. But quite a bit of time actually goes past during this. It's not a short span that you're in here for. But eventually at some point it probably will dawn on a lot of you that, hey, look, Freya Lise isn't here, and you do have kind of a pressing need. And even Jean will kind of realize that she probably get back to doing her own job. And whilst this has been a great academic interlude, and she would love to continue,
And just a
There are-
nice light thing for us to do before we turn into bad guys? Yeah.
yeah. So she does sort of stretch and crack the sort of shoulders and whatnot as she sort of looks back and observes Vander, who I'm assuming is just kind of either still drinking or sitting there napping, doing something.
Yeah, he's passed out.
Yeah.
I love the idea, even in his nap, he's still dipping his paw.
Still,
Like,
It's actually his tail at this point.
oh!
even better. And the absolute thing of glory that Hetty has created in all of this time, that Jean just smiles and almost gives you this genuine, beaming look of encouragement. Not looking down on it, but like, that's a good attempt. Maybe you'll do better next time. Sort of look as she kind of gets to her feet. It's like, right. Well, I'm sure we all have things to be about as much as I would like to continue this conversation. You've all decided what you're doing, I assume. Will you be with us for much longer, or will you be heading out yourselves?
In my mind, we are heading out soon because we do not wish to have our association with other people realized before we can get to the place.
Oh, fair enough. Well, whatever you decide to do, and she sort of has put her magnifying crystal away and sort of just taps the little pouch and slides another one out and hands it over to you, Nofret. It's like, as you're probably aware, most of the communications that Kirith Nan have go through Geis. His natural gift allows him to contact people brief times back and forth a few times per day. This will allow you to either get in contact with myself or him or somebody else, I suppose, should you so choose. Its usages are very limited, but depending on, I suppose, how you go with Mr. Marat or your investigations, we'd like to stay apprised. And that way also, if anything changes on our end and we come to any more information, I can get a hold of Geis and he can contact you directly. Entirely up to you, but I feel as though lines of communication, especially given what we've learnt, might be good for both of us.
Does it look like it's small enough to fit in my shoe?
In your little shoe, the little
My
shoe
little
thing,
shoebox.
the shoe box. That's it. Yes, yeah, I would say it quite possibly can.
Sweet.
So I would say that is very much a possibility. You probably don't want to give it too many sharp impacts if it's in there because you'll be jamming it in tight. That's what she said. And you know,
That was just
crystals-
crystal.
crystals are not indestructible. Sorry, Crystal.
It is what she said.
It is, in fact. This crystal has 3 charges. So it can be used 3 times to get a hold of somebody like a sending spell.
But it doesn't recharge.
It does not recharge on its own. No, it is an infused crystal. Therefore, it has had the magic cast into it and become a consumable item.
Okay.
Yep.
Mm.
But yeah, should you need to get a hold of somebody, yeah, you are aware that Geis has his gift does allow him to basically do something akin to the sending spell multiple times a day to whoever he chooses.
Yeah.
So you can get a hold of him, and he can get a hold of other people should you so need to.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I won't put it in the tow box straight away, but mostly
Yep.
because we need to do espionage later.
Yep. So, lifting yourself up from the couch, from your respective couches, cushions, and floor, I guess. Whether you
Vander's not
Vander
lifting
out?
himself up.
I was about to say, I assume somebody's going to be carrying Vander out,
Yeah, I pick up the cat.
which is
Well,
probably a good
Not
thing
like
because,
a hurting way, but just like.
because if nobody picked the cat up and took him out, Jean would probably adopt it then and there. You know, a cat that can hold down its wine and drinks it in
I
such
don't
an
know if Vanna would
interesting
complain
manner.
about that.
You know,
I got there before you did.
Oh.
I
I have a different target, okay? It's
Eyes on the prize, Nofret. Eyes on the prize.
It's just like wow, wow.
In his head, he's doing so well.
Yeah. There you are, little guy.
But you exit out of Jean's house, back out into the courtyard of Fort Falling Embers, where, yes, it is now into the afternoon.
Oh, I'm starving. What about you guys?
Yes, after all this
I
hard
have
work,
that is on me. Ah,
I would like to eat.
Well,
how could you fit so much in
Oh,
you? That's
so
disgusting.
good.
Okay, well, Hetty, you can send messages to Frey, right? Say, fine, let's go find lunch.
Just directed to where we were before.
But you mean the outside? Yeah, we could go outside because, you know, I was thinking about it. We probably need like a different outfit, right? Because this.
Hetty holds up her monstrosity with the biggest beam. She's like, I thought of that.
For you,
And
that's
you
great.
can
You
actually-
will love that. You will wear it so well.
You can actually see with all the horrible stitching that, like, it looks like a little triangle kind of poncho dress thing that would fit Hetty with all these
God.
patchworks. She's
the
tried
colours.
like a little bit of embroidery but gave up on that and just worked on her stitching, which is this big loopy thing. Like, it's a monstrosity, but she is so proud.
Oh, it looks great.
Meanwhile, Second's like rolling in the head, like, no, let me at it.
we are not wearing that thing.
It's got taste. But I was thinking about something slightly different for myself. You know, just so we're not so noticeable.
Oh, do you all require outfits for something? Do you
Ah,
all require outfits for something?
well, you know, our next phase that we go on, we want to not be so discernible as who we are currently.
Oh, okay. I mean, if there's something I can do to help out, let me know. It may not look like much, but I have a wardrobe in there.
Oh. Well, we could get a little outfit for the cat. Get him a tutu. I think it's pretty cute in there.
Well, he's very nimble. I wonder if a little tuxedo and a top hat would be interesting.
Hmm.
Tie a little bow on his tail.
Do you like jump out of my arms and back into the room?
Like, what?
You know what might be really interesting? Have you ever heard of a pocket knife? And it's got all those weird utensils on it. We could strap one of those to his tail. No? A bit much?
Vander's nodding.
I think it's.
I would love that.
I think the cat. You know, he's still got 9 lives. Why not?
I would actually say 8. That was like a dicey moment
Oh, yeah, that
there
was
when we were doing the thing.
Well, it's up to you if you have specific things in mind.
I
Let me
mean,
know.
Jean, you look like you do have great taste. I would not mind rating your wardrobe. Just like.
Oh, there's a lot of things that would be off limits. You just have to let me know what you're after, and I'll see what I can do.
Okay.
I know this fantastic tailor, and she looks over at Hetty and beams, like that's who she means.
Hetty's grin could not get wider.
Yeah.
You guys could do the potions, and I'll go with the alteration. We could make a killing.
Yep. Yeah. You know what? Yeah. I'm in charge of the accounts, though. Let's look at some outfits.
Even through his drunk haze, can Vanda tell if Jean's onto the fact that this is Vanda? Like, has she clicked onto this?
I mean, you can make an insight check if you would like.
100%.
Yeah.
Who's that pussycat? Whoa.
Whoa! Is that a disadvantage? Because he is...
Oh, 100% is a disadvantage. 8.
8? Man, you don't know. You know, she has not reacted over the top towards you in any way, nor has she treated you like you are Vanda. So no idea, absolutely none, whether you are just a random cat that has suddenly appeared, or not. Although you do, even through your sort of mode of thinking, it's kind of like, I don't know if this lady would necessarily let a random cat into her house. It's possible.
Surely she's smart enough to figure it out. I'm good, but she dumb.
I like the idea that the cat's just
pretty
staring her
smart.
down now. Like,
but yeah, she's quite serious. There are outfits that you guys want to whatever you, because I don't think you told her. I don't think you guys have actually told her what you're going to go do, despite her sort of prompting you to tell her. But she's more than willing to help you guys out. So, but she needs to know what sort of thing you're after before she can help.
this is great.
You don't need to tell her what you're. Yeah, you don't need to tell her what you're doing. She just needs to know what you're after.
I'm after something that is kind of the opposite of the current color palette I wear. I don't want to look like I'm from the desert so much, you know? Maybe like something a little bit dark, a little bit edgy, a little bit butch.
I'm not sure I've got anything in my wardrobe that would constitute butch. But I can probably do dark.
And you know, this. I personally love desert outfit. The freedom in these pants is everything, you know? Puffy pants. But
Oh, I love freedom.
so something maybe free but also kind of, you know, not from the desert. I leave it with you.
And for our craftswoman?
Actually, I think I've got my outfit quite sorted. But for our other sister, second?
Yes.
Mm.
Yes, of course. The other sister, yes.
She will
Inside
probably
chick.
be...
Is she aware?
I can inside check if you want.
16.
16. She appears to be aware of something. Like she is at this point very well aware that there is very little about your party that is exactly as it seems.
Love it.
So whether the other sister is specifically there or is somewhere else, or whether is potentially the same person as someone else,
Or even a
is the cat,
sister.
she knows that not all is as it appears. You're not sure exactly how much the extent of that knowledge goes, but she's also not prying, which is usually a pretty good start.
Yeah.
If you had something like a dress with like 2 slits right up the thighs so she can still move, She's
Yeah.
very tall.
Jean kind of swishes her hips side to side. That's exactly what her one is.
Like that.
She's like got long slits, but she's got the trousers on underneath. That the legs of the trousers have been deliberately split open and then tied back together. Like, yeah, she really enjoys her ability to move freely. So,
That would be perfect.
and what are we doing with the cat, or do we just go to leave the cat to be cute?
I like the tuxedo and hat, to be honest.
We might be able to whip something up.
I can always alter it if we need.
And your other friend?
Okay. That's an interesting question.
We can sort that out later. But yeah. Basically,
Yeah.
she will be able to go away, and even though she has things to do, she's obviously once again had something come into her attention, of which she is now suddenly going, "This is far more important and interesting than what I was doing."
Outfits? Yes.
or maybe not interesting, but far more important. So she will go away and actually procure for you guys a set of outfits. But because she hasn't been given specific guidelines for what it is you're doing, Nofret's outfit, when you said dark, she has in fact produced for you basically a replica of your outfit
But
that is
dark.
almost entirely black.
I love it. It's perfect. It's an espionage form.
So we've now got Ninja Nofret, essentially.
Oh god, that's so funny.
Because you guys haven't given her too much in the way of guidelines. She has essentially gone away, replicated your outfit in just black. There is grey trim. Yeah, there's grey trim to kind of offset that a little bit, but it is almost entirely a black outfit.
I love that.
Because Hetty said she was alright, and we got something for Sekhet. She didn't really have a good gauge on how big Sekhet was. So what Jean's done, because she's almost as tall as Sekhet, although much slimmer. She's not muscular at all. She's a very slim person. She's basically done almost a replica of the current dress she's got, which I don't know whether Sekhet will find that might be slightly too revealing. So Jean has Jean has also got like an optional sort of a shirt underneath for it to cover up, as well as another set of trousers. Not like her ones. They are actually full trousers that haven't been tailored. But again, because dark was kind of the option that was given to her as far as color goes, once again, you have been provided with an almost entirely dark and grey outfit.
I love this.
And while she couldn't find a tuxedo the size for Vander, she did find both a top hat that could fit on his head and a top hat that he could fit into.
Oh, so he's got one for each size, baby.
Yep. So he can sleep in a top hat while wearing a top hat.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
She decided
Goals.
prudently not to get a pocket knife for his tail.
Aw. He was really excited about that.
Yeah, no, not at this time. She decided against that.
Okay.
And because she doesn't bring anything else out for Vander, as opposed to the cat, and she didn't really ask, you do maybe get the impression that she knows that, yeah, Vander.
You're both.
Yeah, she didn't ask about it, so yeah. All right. But you guys can make embellishments or changes to whatever if you would like. She just hands you some basic versions of what you asked for, and then they can be altered later off stream, whatever. But
Nice.
basic dark versions of your of Nofret's current outfit, and then Sekhet's got one that is very similar to Jean's voluminous dress that just kind of floats around her most of the time, as well as trousers and a shirt that goes underneath. And we'll figure out what Frey wants.
So good.
But yeah. So you guys were doing what now? Now that we've got that.
That's a great question. What are
Yep.
we doing now?
Lunch.
lunch. We go, one of us messages to Frey and we say, meet us at the spot. Bring
Which
Suruwatha.
spot? Which spot?
Where we had breakfast.
Okay.
Bring your oven.
There's no answer like you realize that is a completely stupid thing to say, like she's gonna come without her
Like
oven.
she's not gonna bring her oven with
Yeah, like she's not gonna bring her oven.
I'm just waiting
Okay.
for the episode where we go into the snow and it actually keeps her warm.
Well, I mean, there
was
are
that buff
opportunities.
to it.
Yeah, I mean, there are the northern lands that are mostly ice, and back home's the area where she's from, where the Heavenly Triad Temple is it gets a little cold there towards the winter months. Anyway, so you guys head outside. I am assuming, back to the little settlement on the outside of Fort Falling Embers, where you do notice that there are a lot less wagons. There's a lot less of the merchants who were there. They'd kind of set up for a small little try to do what they could in the morning before packing up and heading off to their next destination, whether that was heading south to Cascorn, over to Ruavant, to some of the villages near the Markenmere, or further north to Sunhaven. A lot of them have moved on to their next destination, especially with the whole bandits in the area haven't been taken care of. Yes. But there are quite a few here that obviously still do not feel quite right traveling, or are still trying to hire bodyguards for their trip, or some who are just like, well, while this place is being built, it's an opportunity for business. So there are some that are a little bit more set up and stable here than others. And yeah, you will probably pretty easily be able to find something to eat. It is a little bit later in the day for lunch now, but you can very much easily find something to nom on.
Are you a person again? Or are you a cat?
He's still a cat.
I was thinking, team, you know, if we're leaving tomorrow, say, can I bring the cart on the next leg? And if we do bring the cart, what are we gonna fill it with? You know, show these people that we should be hired by them.
Well,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
at that point, Bando's gonna change back to a human. His hybrid
I don't
form.
wanna.
God damn it! Communicate. Little shittery.
Mm-hmm.
And Frey will catch up with you. You said bring Suruwatha, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, not long after you guys actually procure food and whatnot, Frey and Suruwatha, the two gnomes, will come on up.
In answer
Kind of.
to your question, Nofret. Slaves? What do we want to bring on the cart that could convince them that we belong in? With that.
So, is one of us gonna pretend to be the slave?
I vote not it.
Is that Hetty or Sekit?
It's heady, but it's kind of like an amalgamation of their voices.
Or both of them together? Or...
Yeah.
Oh. It's a firm note from both of them.
Okay. Not the sisters.
And as much as I think she would, I'm not going to volunteer Frey for that because I don't know what she would do.
Considering it's supposed to be slaves, them saying no is kind of, in character already. Maybe we should just go with them.
Huh? What do you mean? Oh, through the sister. Oh, because we're putting them. Ah, I see what you mean. Because it's not a choice.
God,
There you go.
I would
see?
like to see you try, Xander. Really. Second is busting to come out. You know? That would be a good fight.
I mean, maybe.
And to be fair, not to throw second to the wolves or anything. She is quite capable of, if, you know, we loosen the shackle or something, fighting her way out.
Because
This
this
Or
is
changing into someone else they have not seen. Or the same could be said for the cat.
That was another thought I had, is that we have two people in the party that can look like other things. The other conversation that is part of this is how long are we willing to keep up the bit, right? Especially if we're saying that one of us is going in there under, you know.
We are also far away from people at this point. We've taken our snaps somewhere
Yeah, we've gone to
Away.
that secluded spot we had this morning.
just to make sure.
Yeah, and now
And
is the
there's like
time of
less of a
day.
market anyway.
Yeah, now is the time of day where even more so than this morning, people are either hard at work or off doing things. So yeah, you'd be even more secluded than what you would have been this morning.
But still, you could use your big cat ears to see if anyone's listening. Like beep 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 boop 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 boop.
My head is ringing just a little bit.
Sorry, what was beep beep boop boop?
Yep, we're good.
I think we have to leave into the morning, so we should probably talk to Altan before we go.
Why?
What? Why talk to Altan, or why leave so soon?
Why talk to Altan?
I think so he doesn't raid the base before we can get the information we need. Potentially. I don't know if it's that
Pretty sure they said they had bigger issues than, you know.
Yeah.
Unless
I
that
also
is,
did say he wanted to talk to us.
Did he? Oh, okay.
It might be that he actually has a job for us to do before we step into it.
Altan did seem a lot more on board with what you guys were doing, as far being involved in the whole Farouz Marat thing than Captain Salt did. She was the one turning around going, there are bigger things going on, so I can't. He was the one that was trying to say, okay, you know, this is a thing.
Uh-oh.
And she's not here anymore.
So, is the plan to capture and interrogate or convince him to confess? Or is the plan just to kill him?
I think the plan, as it stands, is that the plan needs to be flexible to whatever situation we walk into, for one.
So killing is always an option. Good, good, good.
Sure, yeah, killing always option. But, my mind thinks that we need to be, like, aware of if we can maybe take a slave or a co-worker, bring them to our side, bring them as a voice of reason to the people in power to say, yes, this man is actually this fucking evil.
Again, we come across the whole their word versus his. He is a notable and honorably discharged person. And what? We're going to find his personal slave who is going to testify that he is a brutal and horrible man. And they're going to believe this random person.
I didn't say it was a good plan. It's just our plan. And if we give enough evidence around the person, if we find logbooks, right? Shipment information.
Logbooks are good.
About how, you know, where the slaves are going to.
All that information is good, but can always be said that it is forged.
So you're saying that we have to capture him? And what, bring him alive? All the way to the city.
He is already not in good favor because he mishandled the egg. If we leverage that even more, make him less in favor to the point where his survival would be confessing or facing the wrath of king.
But then, isn't he turned out to be king? The one, the big guy in charge.
Oh yeah.
So we can't. That's a great angle. If it turns out that we're wrong and he's not the top dog.
If he is king, then simply killing him.
Will
There'll be
cause
so many-
fractures.
There will be a power vacuum, yes,
Here's something.
but it will scramble them for a bit, maybe.
Here's something that a lot of people forget about chess. They concentrate on the idea of killing the king so much.
That is the point.
It's the point to take their king, yes. But the player that has the most power is the one who keeps their queen alive the longest. The queen is the one that can move in the most different patterns on the board. So who is the queen of this game? Because they're the ones I'm worried about.
You know who one of the queens was?
We do?
Wasn't it her? Like the one we
Laban.
literally bought?
Claben was.
Hmm.
Claben was one of the queens, which means he's one of the few people who might have known who King actually was.
Which is why we need to talk to Claben.
Which is why his notes are probably a bit more reliable.
That was why I gave you all of the information that pertained to it that time, even if it didn't seem important then and there. All of that information was by him.
Who was the queen? So
And he doesn't know who everybody is, but he'd figured out who a few of them were, or who he thought a few of them were.
But there's always two queens on the board, so who the fuck is the other one? Just
I
spinning
hate
his chair. Ugh.
That could be just another wild goose chase. We have a lead. I don't think we should go finding somebody.
No, you're fine.
And from that lead, we might be able to find others. We had Claven, we found other names there. There could be another lead. But how does one disrupt a ring? It's continuous. So if one person's gone, it'll just go to the next.
You have heard that the person referred to as King has his hands in a lot of pockets across the Eastern Reach.
Which is why we feel like it's this
And-
guy, because he was a hero.
And clearly, because not everybody within this network knows who other people are, just going off that, and I maybe shouldn't say it as the DM, were you to topple the king of somebody who keeps even his own subordinates in the dark, there's a good chance that you might be able to disrupt things long enough, and if they will have all of the information. I'm not saying do it. I'm just, he has deliberately kept a lot. He's deliberately kept a lot of the people within the network considered
that
blatantly
can work in
unaware.
our favor. Yeah.
Blatantly unaware of who others are. There are certain places that they meet. The undermarket was always one of them.
I have a weird idea.
Mm-hmm.
So, since working out what I am, I can also change to look like other people? What if we kill him and I look like him for a while?
That's interesting. So
I
you
could cause a lot of mischief. And
It's about the
disrupt
longest
a
pause
lot
we've
of
had.
things.
that
I
that-
don't
that-
want to say no,
if we could
but I also don't know.
If we get enough information, he is the one that has all the information. Everyone else is dead. They won't know right away if he's dead. They'll know even less quickly if someone else that looks like him is there. And if we can find all his information, we can set stings up. We can set people up to fall so that it's not just us. It would be the real inside job.
He hates it.
we literally killed the puppet to become it.
To bring it down. I pull some strings. They have a meeting that's tipped off. There's a whole wing gone.
Given how secretive and I don't think that would work. Because unless you knew how to call a meeting, I assume it would be some kind of complex or stupid way to do it. You couldn't just send out a note saying, "It is I, the boss.
The king!
Come here."
But we would see if we took him down and if we found his information, we would see how he discusses, how he summons. We would see communication and crack codes. You're so clever. You would be able to work out codes in a heartbeat.
Yes, I can crack codes to some degree, but I don't want to say no to this plan.
I mean, I know it might not have to happen right away. We might have to get in there and witness things and see.
We might have to become in favor to get close enough to make the switch in the first place. Even if it's not necessarily killing him, but putting him in a closet, for a long period of time.
Right?
The other option is that Claben, with the position that he had, would know some of the ways of being contacted, right?
Was he trying to pull out of the whole thing now that he's got his daughter away? Would he be in favor of self-preservation as Vander brought up to bring everyone else down?
Ah. So we say we'll dob him in if he does not comply with our wishes?
Not even that. I mean, they know she was his daughter, and she miraculously is gone without him having fought. But they know he's a queen. They know he's a big player. They know he would have known. I mean,
I think all of this is stuff that we just have to figure out when we get there. It's good
I
to have
just-
ideas, though.
we just need to know a kind of a approach, because to get in favor, what are we going to have to do? We're going to have to become scum.
How far are you willing to go for this?
And at what point is it us just undercover and not just becoming as bad as they are to bring them down?
Yeah. It's It's not gonna be easy. Everywhere.
No.
And we will have a lot of moral, questionable moments. I mean, we already have. It's not like we haven't killed people and seen people die.
There's a difference in killing people for self-preservation and selling people to have a cover.
Yeah.
This is going to be very hard.
I was told that changelings are not liked because they can do these things. It would be cool to do one of these things to, for the right ways, you know?
The other reality is we could all look at each other right now and say we are not ready. We can't save these people yet. And that's okay. You know? We can always get stronger. I'm only just learning stuff about my rune magic. That's just, you know?
It's true. Do not want to bite off more than we can chew, and end up headless.
End up like Theodore.
Second would kill me if I got us killed. It was a joke.
Perhaps
Well-
we follow the path and we see what opportunity presents itself.
And you know, we'll talk to we'll talk to Altan, and maybe he has something for us to
Yes.
bite that is not so much chewing.
Did we know where Claben was going?
That was kind of what Claben deliberately hired you guys to go free his daughter because you guys were not associated with him and were known to have actually had a conflict with him in his thing. So that immediately separated what was going on. He was also leaving Cascorn the same night you guys went into the slave auction.
Yeah, so
So
that
the-
he couldn't be tied to
So
it.
so that he had more of a distance to be able to say, I had nothing to do with it. But where he was going, he did tell you he was going back to see King. But he would not tell you where that was or who it was because that was a line he couldn't cross. Because if they did know that Delane was his daughter, that's not a line he was willing to cross. But that's it. He didn't say where, he didn't say who.
Imagine if we have to go kill Claben.
He had it coming.
He had it coming.
Do you think Claben would... Because I never really was interacting with him very much. Do you think if he got the message, he would meet up with us?
I think that Claben is an opportunist. But I also think he's loyal, which could be an issue.
I think he would sell us out to save himself.
Yes, but if we made it that if he sold us out, his daughter would be dead. And he went to all that trouble for nothing. And we take
Blackmail.
away every little thing that's important to him.
Hmm.
We have a bargaining chip. That is all I'm saying.
A bargaining chip indeed.
It could be that we're not quite ready to face this guy until we get more information from the Queen. Even if it's just indirect, it just builds the puzzle up. I mean, if there's a vacuum of power, would he not be one of the key players to vie for it?
Absolutely.
Maybe maybe we could approach the opportunistic side of his and say, no.
But then again, we're just closing the ring. Like it's.
Well, no, because then we could turn around and then know who the new king is and kill him again.
And then there's another queen that would just take the position.
You sounded so much like Sekhet just then, Hetty. I'm worried about her influence on you.
She, for one time, she and I are in agreement. She actually thinks I'm quite clever from this angle, She wouldn't have thought of this. Sometimes it pays to sit back and gather her as much information as you can.
The one issue is, how do we talk to him from such long distances? Unless, Frey, you can do something similar to this crystal, because I'm not willing to use this crystal.
I'm
pretty sure she's a cleric and can die sending her.
She just never
Sending
changes her
sending, right?
spells. Not me metagaming, but I'm like, I'm pretty sure you could change. Or is it just I don't know.
No, I'm pretty sure sending is a cleric spell.
Yeah, it's a cleric. We can talk to Fred. I'll be like, Fred,
Yeah,
it's this crystal. Can you do this?
I mean, I will just double check to see if Frey has access to it right now.
I know that she doesn't often change Frey's spells, which is fine, and that's a character choice, and I stand with her on that.
There are certain spells that I've made certain spells for her homebrew class available to her that she doesn't have normally, and I've also removed certain other ones. Sending is a spell that she would be able to cast.
Okay.
So yes, she would in this moment be able to tell you that is something she could do, but she would need to sleep on it.
Well, on that note, I suppose lunchtime's over. Let's go talk to Alta.
Are we going
You
to
need me
tell
to
him
carry
our
you
plan, or
Are you offering? It was good wine. You missed out.
what are we telling him though? Are we going to tell him about us wanting to infiltrate?
We're
or...
telling him that we think the slavery ring is a problem and we're going to figure out a way to deal with it. That's as much as we should be able to tell him. Right?
Yes.
Less people that know the plan, kind of in some ways is better.
Don't
I
even
mean,
have a proper
we
plan.
don't even know it yet.
Okay, guys, and I stand up and I start walking.
There is a
Pretty sure-
line. She
Pretty
wants
sure that's
to-
how breakfast ended too.
Yeah. It's the poetic Nofret's
And I
like,
walk
okay.
Very
She
touchy today,
finishes
isn't she?
conversations.
All right.
So touchy today.
Do you have like another 10 to 15 vixen or no?
Nah, I need to go put this
No.
point
I
Cool.
could hear him in the
Alright,
background. I was
Yeah,
like,
I could hear him. I thought I could hear him calling for Mum as well. That's why I thought I'll ask rather than Okay. So you guys start heading back in towards Fort Falling Embers with maybe, possibly a little bit more of an idea in mind of what might be going ahead. Regardless, you've got a bit more information about some. Well, one of you has a bit more information about some personal stuff. And a lot of very interesting questions and choices you're going to have to ask yourself and decide in the next wee while. But you enter back through the gate and start making your way towards the commander's office, which is now the residence of Eltan instead of Captain Salt. Ready for some more discussions, perhaps information, and figuring out what is the next step on whether you're going after the slavery ring and its king or not. We'll pick up with that next time.
Oh, Piff's posting something.
I did wonder when I saw them ask about that question in chat what was going on there.
Have you seen Piff's art before, Fender?
No.
Oh.
I'm very
So then you're-
excited. It's in there. Aw, it's such a cool. Oh, it's so cute.
Aw.
I love it.
That's
Cat in,
adorable.
cat in a hat wearing a hat.
You got
and just
fan
running
art.
through.
Look at you go.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
girl.
I've never had fan art before.
Aww. Thanks, Piff. You
Thanks,
should
Piff.
definitely look up Piffle Cake on Instagram because Piffle does beautiful like
Lovely
watercolor
Piffle,
paintings
thank
of
you.
people's animals and they're like incredible. Oh, you should get her to do Nugget one day.
I
When I
should.
said sleeping in a hat, wearing a hat, you had to. That's true. That's yeah. I love that. That's amazing.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. And you know what? It's also pretty on brand for Vanda. So
It's so very Vander.
but with that, yeah, we'll wrap it up. And we didn't quite get out of Fort Falling Embers today, but I personally didn't think you would. Just because I knew there was gonna,
Look.
just because I knew there was going to be that segment with Jean talking about the runic stuff. Just because I knew that was going to be going on, I had a feeling that it might take up a chunk of the session.
I bit of an inkling.
Yeah.
I
but, yeah.
appreciate everyone letting my character have a little moment.
Everybody will get their moments like that though.
Oh hell yeah.
That's the
I am clicking raid to roll stream, who we've raided a few times in the past, and is lovely.
Wow.
It's a lovely human. And they are great D&Ders, so we're gonna go raid them.
D&D.
I'm pretty sure, chat. I probably won't stream tomorrow, but I'm pretty sure Tuesday. You'll have to meet me here for some Star Stable Online with my dad, Humble.
Oh, cute ass.
So we're gonna play. We're gonna teach Dad how to be a horse girl. It's gonna be a great time. So I'm pretty sure that's Tuesday.
She is a horse girl.
I am a horse girl, and
Is she?
Robert can't tell me fucking any different. I'm pretty sure
I can.
that was me yelling at you in that Planet Zoo.
It was.
clip, eh?
Yeah, that clip is of her. Yeah, exactly.
Yelling specifically at Robert. I'm like, whoa. All right. Thank you, team. Thank you, chat.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
Stay
Bye.
spicy. Bye.